Wow, now that's pretty cool. I'm John, and this is Referent Ear Designers. Creating immersive presentations is one of the best methods to convey your designs to your audience. Today we're going to describe how to create standard or stereo panoramas using Revit. Let's get to it. The following is a presentation on how to create panoramas for your projects. So here's a floor plan, and we're going to make a panorama. So a panorama is a 360-degree view of a project produced in Revit. Now, we're going to use the Revit Cloud to make the panoramas. And to make a panorama, you simply create a camera in one of your floor plans, and we do not care about what we see when we create the camera. Okay, so for instance, let's say I wanted to make a panorama of this bedroom here, standing in the middle of the bedroom there. And again, a panorama is a 360-degree view of the room. So you don't want to be standing on a piece of furniture. Like, you don't want to be creating a panorama on top of a table. Ideally, the panorama is being created from the center of the room, assuming the center of the room is clear and free of any objects. So you got to be careful where you put these things. So in the middle of this room, let's say, for example, right there, I'm going to make a camera view. So I will go into here and go to make a camera, and I'll place my camera in the center of the room, and I'll just look in one direction. Any direction, does not matter, as long as the camera is kind of centered. You do not want to place cameras in the corners of the rooms because that makes for horrible panoramas. And ideally, you don't want to make the panoramas in hallways either, because those make terrible panoramas too. Ideally, the shape of the room should be closer to a square as possible. So long, narrow areas look terrible in panoramas. Putting cameras in corners of the room typically look terrible, because when you spin the camera, you'll be facing the inside corner of the room, which is a terrible place to look. So I'm going to pick here, I'm going to drag it to here, I'm going to click, and right here, I'm done. There's nothing else to do here. We really don't care about what we see through the camera. In fact, anything we do here has no effect on the camera whatsoever. But what you do want to do is make sure that you like the way lighting is working in your scene, and you want to do that before you obviously send it to render. So I might want to turn on shadows, for example. Now, there's a lot of glass here, and because there's an abundance of glass, you will get a lot of light coming into this room. So I think this room will look appropriate when rendered simply with the sun. You might not need to turn on your interior lights for this scene because it's such a large expanse of glass. Normally when you make a camera, it turns on this far clip active, which normally you want to turn off, which again cuts off the drawing at a certain distance from where I'm standing. For example, those trees were disappearing a second ago on this balcony guardrail. But again, that has no effect on the panorama at all. The only reason why I expanded the screen and take a look at this shot is I wanted to confirm where the lighting is. It's typically better to look at it in plan view, adjust the sun settings as you need to, and use those settings when you produce your panorama. So I'm going to take this view here. I'm going to go into my View tab. I'm going to hit Render in Cloud. Notice this is called 3D View number 2. Honestly, good practice is to simply name these views. I'm going to right-click and hit Rename. And I'm going to give them my initials. And I'm going to say Bedroom Panorama. I'm going to render in the cloud here. Continue. And I'm going to choose that view. Now let's see. I'm going to choose Panorama. standard quality, advanced, that's fine, and choose the lowest settings, 512. Because the intentions are to produce this very quickly and to review them online to make sure that they produce the desired effects for this particular panorama, which is a 360-degree view. You've seen them, you've all seen them, of you standing in a certain place and basically turning your head. Rendered. Now that's off to the races here. Here is a sample panorama. Panoramas come in two flavors. There's one panorama here that icon looks like a squished rectangle right there. The other panorama here looks like a pair of Google Cardboard glasses. If you look up and search for Google Cardboard, you'll see, you've all seen these VR cardboards where you put your phone inside, eyeglasses, you can immerse yourself in a scene, turn your head, and it acts like you're really there. It's pretty cool. So here's a panorama. And as you can see, as I spin my mouse, I can see the scene. I can look down, I can look up, and it really gives someone, the viewer, a very intimate experience of standing in your space. So you got to be careful about what's in the vicinity of where you build these things. And because I'm in the space, it begins to illuminate things that are missing from your project. For example, it makes things very apparent when they're missing. Things like perhaps having a baseboard across the bottom of this wall seems like it's something that's just missing from your project in this case. There's not really many light fixtures on the ceiling here. It's kind of boring up there. There's not much going on there. Things are missing. But for the most part, this panorama tends to work. You want to place the camera at eye level, ideally. Too high, it feels like a security camera. Too low, it feels like your animal's looking through, your VR glasses. You want to make sure it's eye level, human height. So you want to place your camera in the center of the scene. As you can see here, I'm not standing on top of a table or anything. And there's no people nearby, so I don't accidentally see people really close to me as I'm rotating around the panorama. So these are really fast and easy to make. So Revit has two types. Now, this is a standard camera view right here. And notice that there is no panorama icon. Either the squish rectangle, which is a standard panorama, or this little Google Cardboard icon right there with the two eyeglasses. This is a standard rendering. And notice at the top of the screen, I've got the squish rectangle to make a panorama. And next to it here, I got a stereo panorama. The difference is that if you use a standard panorama here, it'll allow you to create a 360-degree view of your model, of your rendering. And if you launch it on your on your laptop or on your tablet or on your cell phone, you'll need your mouse or your finger to slide through the image, swipe, and it'll let you rotate around the scene. Now, if you use stereo panorama, and by clicking these objects here, I can transform this into a stereo or standard panorama. You'll lose this picture. You might want to download it first. You'll lose it, and it'll turn into a panorama. But if I choose stereo, you'll get the same panorama. It'll look exactly the same online. There's really no difference between the two. The only difference is when you load a stereo panorama on your cell phone via a link, and you look through it in your phone, for example, your smartphone, as you move your head, the scene moves inside the phone. It's as if you're looking through glasses. So as you tilt your head up or down, left and right, holding your phone, looking at the scene, it'll be as if you're inside that scene. So that really immerses the user into your design immediately. It feels like you live there. And because you're inhabiting the space virtually, you begin to expect a certain level of quality that might be missing from your project. So it's an opportunity to figure out what it is you might want to add to embellish the 3D experience when you've gone to the level of producing a panoramic view. As opposed to this, this scene here might suffice to show the kitchen countertops and the kitchen here, galley kitchen, and some seating in the background there. But it doesn't tell you the picture of what's happening behind you and to the right behind you. So you then have to create the rest of the assets for the scene, because otherwise the room looks half empty. And so it really pushes you further into completing that entire scene to create a panorama, because you will be able to spin around and take a look at what's happening on the flip side. So here they look exactly the same, but again, when you launch these presentations, the stereo panorama will allow you to feel as if you're there inside the space. Now, to create a panorama, you simply click on any static link. For example, this static link, you can transform this into a panorama. And you choose one of these options. They're both the same. So you choose, for example, panorama there. And here you decide, for example, what is the scene of the environment. Again, the environment is what's happening outside. I would shy away from these until you figure out exactly what you're going to get outside the windows when you choose one of these options. So buyer beware. Rendering quality, you want to choose the lowest quality, which is called standard. And under width, you want to make it the smallest possible, because you want to render as fast as possible. These take longer than your typical renderings because you're having to create a picture that's much longer and it wrapped into a cylinder. So it'll take a little bit of time longer to make these things. And then you simply hit render, and it'll start the process of making your panorama. If you look at the panorama and like what you see, you can simply re-render it again and increase your quality. So for example, here, if I took this panorama here and I wasn't happy with the quality, especially seeing it through Google Cardboard or even your phone, more so with Google Cardboard, because if you have the cardboard on your head and you have your phone inside and you look through the visors, you'll be inside the space and you'll really see the quality up close and personal. And at that point, you might demand a higher quality than what you might be able to get away with on the internet. So here, when you do a re-render, you might ask yourself to do a 246, for example, pixel size. And that's as high as it goes here. That's as far as you're going to get. So that's going to be a pretty decent quality image at that size. I'm going to go back here for a second. I'm going to go back to our project. We were rendering the panorama. Was it this one? Oh, I forgot. So here is the settings for launching the panorama. Here's the warning that it gives you when you don't have the materials. You have to accept this before you can proceed. There's no work being done here yet. You have to accept, and then you can continue working in the background. And the panorama for this project will commence. Therefore, on the cloud, ultimately, you'll get the file name appearing here, and inside you'll have an hourglass while the panorama is being developed. And that's it. So take a look at the panoramas on the cloud in preview mode and see if you're receiving the desired effects for that presentation. I'm going to go back to this is still thinking. So it's uploading project 3 GV, for example. Now, when you produce a panorama and you like the results because the quality is of an appropriate size, there's no materials missing, your modeling is complete, everything is exactly the way you desired. Once that work is completed, you're going to want to share these panoramas with an audience. Now, there's a button here. There's actually two methods of sharing. There's this called Share Images and this one here. This share image on the right shares it to the public gallery. So in Autodesk A360 rendering, there is a gallery of renderings produced by a variety of people around the world to display their skills, simply adding it to a public gallery, an art show of different people's work. This button here, sharing, they call it the open rendering on phone. This allows you to open the rendering on your cell phone. Now you have two options here. So first, you can either download what's called a QR code scanner as an app on your phone, and then using that app, you can stare at this image, and it will turn on the presentation on your phone, and you'll see it right away. So maybe you've seen real estate flyers where they might have embedded one of these icons onto a postcard. If you have the code scanner, you can scan that quickly, and all of a sudden, it launches the presentation right away into your phone, and you can take a tour, a virtual tour of the property. So that's a very neat way of doing it. The other one is here, share via public link. When you click on that, you see it says copy to clipboard. The link is actually copied to your computer. And let's be clear, there's two links. There's this link here, which is useless to the entire planet, except for you, because this is your account. You've logged into the A360 cloud. No one else can see this. No one else can use that link. It will go nowhere if you share with somebody. That's not the link we're talking about. We're talking about the link that's created when it's copied to the clipboard. So if I make a brand new tab and right-click and paste the link there, you'll notice this says panoramas.com. This is the public link that we're talking about. Hit enter. This is the link that will get launched. And if you click on that link on your cell phone, this is exactly what you'll see inside your cell phone immediately. And this is a link you're going to want to share with whomever you're providing this project to. Whoever your audience is, receives that link. Again, this link here, completely useless to everybody, because anyone using this link will then ask them to log in under your account, which you're obviously not sharing with folks. Here's the website for Google Cardboard. A simple search for Google Cardboard will bring up this site. And this young lady here has the Google Cardboard currently on her head. As you can see, they can be branded here, but there's a flap here that you pop open. And inside that little sleeve, for example, right here, you slide in your cell phone. You launch the presentation first, obviously, here. You put your phone in there. Stereo Panorama splits the screen in half. Gives you one view for one half of the eye, and the other for the other half of the eye. You close the lid with Velcro, and you take a peek inside. And as you turn your head, you'll be inside the room, inhabiting that space from where the camera was located when you created the rendering itself. So it's a very fun and exciting way to have people inhabit the space you designed and take a look at it at a very personal level. These Google Cardboard products are very inexpensive. You can see for $15, you can buy any one of these. And at bulk, you can buy them and put marketing on there. And they're a really helpful way of selling your projects very quickly using a cell phone and literally a piece of cardboard with a couple lenses. So I highly recommend buying a pair of Google Cardboard lenses for your projects and taking a tour of your projects inside. A lot of fun.